You were in a deep sleep. And then you woke up for no reason. 3 a.m., eyes open, mind suddenly racing like a racetrack. But know this, if your body didn't wake you randomly at that moment, it woke you deliberately. This isn't a mistake, and it isn't sabotage. This was a professional decision made in seconds to keep you alive. And that decision was made while you were lying safely in your bed, completely unaware. Most people think this comes from stress and insomnia, but they're wrong. At 3 a.m., something specific happens inside your body. A hormonal shift programmed into your circadian biology. A rising cortisol curve. A blood sugar adjustment that your nervous system monitors with extraordinary sensitivity. And when any of these systems crosses a threshold, your brain receives a signal. And that signal says one thing: wake up. This isn't insomnia. This isn't anxiety. This is a biological system doing exactly what it was designed to do, at exactly the time it was designed to do it. The question is, why did your body choose 3 a.m.? Why is the answer for so many people written in the same hormonal language? Here is exactly what's happening inside you when 3 a.m. arrives. Your body operates on a 24-hour hormonal schedule, and cortisol is the most precise timekeeper in that schedule. Most people only know cortisol as the stress hormone. It's actually only half the story. Cortisol is also your body's primary waking signal. And this signal follows nearly the same rhythm in almost every person on the planet. Here's how it works. Between midnight and 2 a.m., cortisol drops to its lowest point of the entire day. Your body has essentially put itself on idle. Everything is slow. Everything is quiet. This is the deepest biological rest window. Then, somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., something changes. Cortisol begins to rise. Not because of stress, not because something is happening outside, simply because your hypothalamus, the master clock of your entire endocrine system, has reached a pre-programmed turning point in its daily cycle. It sends a signal to your adrenal glands. They begin secreting cortisol. And cortisol begins its long ascent toward its daily peak at around 8 a.m. This is called the cortisol awakening response. It is one of the most consistent biological events in human physiology. And this is exactly where the paths diverge. For most people, this rise is gradual and sleep continues undisturbed. The brain receives the signal but doesn't care, stays in sleep mode. But for some, this rise doesn't feel gradual. It feels like a switch. On, off. Suddenly, research confirms this in numbers. Individuals with higher cortisol reactivity wake significantly more often between 2 and 4 a.m. The problem isn't that cortisol rises. The problem is how sensitive your nervous system is to that rise. Waking at 3 a.m. doesn't mean you are weak. It shows that your nervous system operates with higher resolution sensitivity. Your body is so attentive that it reads even the slightest cortisol fluctuation as a command to wake. Your adrenal glands will fire again tonight at 3 a.m. They fire every night. The question is, does your nervous system hear it as a whisper or as a shout? Cortisol doesn't work alone at 3 a.m. There is a second system running simultaneously. And for many people, it's actually this second system that does the waking, your blood sugar. Think of it this way. After you eat dinner, your blood sugar rises, insulin kicks in, and sugar is distributed to your cells. As the hours pass, blood sugar drops. By midnight, you're already at a lower level than during the day. By 2 a.m., especially if you ate early, ate little, or are insulin sensitive, your body begins reading that level as a deficiency. And your body doesn't allow that. When blood sugar drops below a certain threshold, your hypothalamus immediately springs into action. Adrenaline is released. The liver frees its stored glucose. And that adrenaline hits at exactly the moment your sleep is at its most shallow. This is why 3 a.m. is not random. The cortisol rise and the counter-response to the blood sugar drop overlap in the same 30-60-minute window. When both hit the brain at once, the signal becomes far more powerful. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology confirms this in numbers. Blood sugar drops during sleep occur most frequently between 2 and 4 a.m. because the previous evening's insulin response finishes right at that hour. Now be honest with yourself. Have you ever noticed that on nights when you ate late or consumed more carbohydrates in the evening, you You slept through the night? But when you ate early or skipped dinner, your eyes opened at exactly 3 a.m.? That's not a coincidence. Your blood sugar timeline shifts depending on what and when you ate. And your 3 a.m. awakening shifts along with it. When you wake at 3 a.m., is your heart beating normally or racing like you're running a marathon? Write 1 or 2 in the comments. That difference tells you whether your body is releasing only cortisol at that moment or adrenaline as well. Let's move to the part of the 3 a.m. story that no one talks about. While you sleep, your liver does not. The liver has its own biological clock. In between 1 and 3 a.m., it enters its most intensive working mode. Toxin filtration, hormone processing, glycogen management, all of this happens precisely within this window. Not passive waiting, active, intensive biological overtime. Here's what's interesting. Traditional Chinese medicine had been pointing to the liver's active hours as 1, 2, 3 a.m. for thousands of years. Modern chronobiology arrived at the same conclusion through a completely different path. The liver's circadian clock genes genuinely peak during this window. It processes the hormones, metabolites, and cellular waste that have accumulated throughout the day. When everything goes smoothly, this process completes silently and sleep continues. But when the liver is carrying extra load alcohol from the previous evening, it's a heavy meal that's still being digested, high inflammation, the biological signals produced become far more powerful. And those signals pull sleep toward the surface. Research shows us this. People who consume alcohol in the evening have notably higher rates of 3 a.m. awakening. But why? Not the alcohol itself. The timing of when the liver processes those alcohol metabolites. The drink you had at 9 p.m. is being processed at 3 a.m., and your liver sends a signal to your brain at that exact moment. This is why the same glass of wine both helps you fall asleep and wakes you 4 hours later. The two don't contradict each other. One is front-loaded, one is back-loaded. The sedative effect of alcohol comes immediately. The liver's processing response comes in the middle of the night, right in the 3 a.m. window. As you watch this video right now, take a careful look at your hands and feet. If they feel ice cold during your 3 a.m. awakenings, that is physical proof that your body is drawing resources toward the center. Heat is being pulled away from the periphery. Survival mode is activated. Biology is managing you from the inside out. You woke up. The mind won't stop. This is exactly what makes 3 a.m. different from waking at any other hour. Not just being awake, but your brain running at a speed completely incompatible with the middle of the night. Thoughts are too sharp. Worries feel bigger than normal. Things you could handle at 10 a.m. look like mountains at 3 a.m. This isn't psychological weakness. This is neurochemistry. Think of it this way. Your brain has 2 critical regions. The amygdala, your alarm system, the prefrontal cortex, your fire chief. Normally, these 2 work together. The amygdala detects a threat. The prefrontal cortex steps in, assesses the situation, and calms things down. But at 3 a.m., your amygdala is sounding alarms at full capacity. Threat signals are radiating in every direction. And your prefrontal cortex, your fire chief, hasn't arrived at the office yet. The alarm is ringing, but the system that silences it isn't there yet. Data from Stanford's neuroscience department clarifies this. During moments of stress, communication between the rational brain and the memory center weakens by 30%. The helplessness you feel at 3 a.m. comes precisely from here. Your rational brain hasn't clocked in yet. Research also shows this. Cortisol levels measured at 3 a.m. are directly correlated with the intensity of cyclical thinking experienced by those who wake. During that window, the higher the cortisol, the more unstoppable the thoughts, and the longer it takes to return to sleep. And here's the reversal. The thoughts don't come from worries. The worries come from cortisol. Cortisol came first. The thoughts are its consequence. This is why the same problems feel completely different at 3 a.m. versus midday. The problems didn't change. Your neurochemistry changed. And your 3 a.m. neurochemistry is designed to find threats, not to solve them, not to calm them. Your body woke you. The stress system took over. The rational brain hasn't arrived yet. 3 a.m. is not random. It never was. The cortisol clock beginning its rise. The blood sugar system counter-responding. The liver starting its night shift. The threat detection system activating before the regulatory circuits come online. All of these converge in the same 60-minute window. Every night. At roughly the same hour, your hypothalamus reaches its turning point. Cortisol rises, blood sugar adjusts. The liver processes the day's accumulation. And for some, those whose stress systems run high, those with reactive blood sugar management, those whose livers carry extra load, these biological events are so loud, they pull consciousness out of sleep. You are not broken. You are not anxious. There's nothing wrong with your ability to sleep. You are experiencing a program that has been running in human bodies for hundreds of thousands of years. It existed before electric light, before modern stress, long before you had any reason to lie awake at 3 a.m. Biology was always going to wake you. The only question was how loudly. Think of the last night you woke at 3 a.m. and couldn't get back to sleep. Was it at the end of a stressful week? Had you eaten late? Had you had a drink that evening? Biology read those inputs and responded accordingly. Now you know the mechanism, you know the timing, and you know that 3 a.m. was never random. It was always your body, running exactly on schedule. But this story doesn't end here. Your body's repair system shifts gears after age 30. And that shift transforms 3 a.m. awakenings from a coincidence into a necessity. I'll explain that connection in upcoming videos if you'd like, because no one has fully explained that link yet. Everything your body does at night has a biological reason. Every one of those reasons is waiting for you on this channel.